I'm Jim Kirchherr, and for a few days at the end of April, our studio was home to St. Louis University's 2018 Climate Summit.
Ozone, so that was my...
Brought together all kinds of people, top people in the fields of science, education, environmental activism, even religion.
Discover together the solution to the problem.
But there were two people I was really excited to meet. This guy with the Nobel Prize lapel pin. You don't see many of those. And this guy with the bow tie. Yep, that's the science guy himself, Bill Nye, one of the keynote speakers at the Climate Summit. The engineer turned children's show host turned science advocate is still best known as the star of the 1990s PBS program, Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
And many of today's young adults' interest in, even passion for, science started with him. Thus, the big cheer.
Greetings. Jim, thank you. Wow, greetings everyone. Greetings.
We sat down and chatted for a bit before we took the stage. You addressed a lot of those young adults as children. Are they coming back to you now and continuing that scientific journey with you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean people who are of age? Oh,
Right,
yeah, all
right.
the time, continually. It's very gratifying.
I mean, that's quite a legacy. You know, I grew up in the Mr. Wizard, Don Herbert era.
Loved him. I had lunch with him years ago. Yeah, at the California Science Teachers Association. And then I went to his memorial service. Man, I really got choked up at that thing. The guy changed the world, you know.
You must hear this. It was Bill Nye the Science
Oh,
Guy
yeah.
who turned me on to science.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's very gratifying.
Today, Bill Nye is head of the Planetary Society, which was started by Carl Sagan, and he writes books, he gives talks, he takes on creationists and climate change deniers, so he does talk politics and policy, and is today quite a bit more provocative than he was as a kids' show host. Just recently, he was the subject of a documentary that aired on PBS.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I wanted to make young people excited about science again. Bill. Nowadays, I'm talking to adults. Climate is changing. We got to get to work on this.
Bill successfully transitioned from Bill Nye the Science Guy to the science statesman.
Wow.
Mission control.
Go ahead, Bill Nye. Dare I say it? We are changing the world.
How about for you moving on? Now, I know you have moved on. Now you're talking to adults. Is the message different? Is it more difficult because kids are willing to learn and some adults are more resistant, perhaps?
Well, yeah, I mean, the people that we're trying to influence policy. And by that I mean we're trying to get, me, people in the world of concerned scientists, engineers, are trying to get policymakers to change the policies they support and embrace and move forward. And as I say, we've just got to stop burning fossil fuels to make electricity. And this is doable. And that people don't see it my way, of course, is troubling. But what are you going to do? You got to fight the fight. As soon as you all do something about climate change, I'll stop talking about it.
But on the stage, you're debating people, you're arguing, you're making the case. You enjoying that?
Yeah, except that you have to make the case is frustrating. I mean, the science of climate change is pretty well settled.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool.
There's one more person I had the privilege to meet during the Climate Summit, Molina, not Yachty, but Mario. But he did get a Cardinals jersey, not with Yachty's number 4, but with the number 95. That was the year Mario Molina was awarded the Nobel Prize, sharing it for the discovery that CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons used in aerosol cans and refrigerants, were damaging the Earth's ozone layer, which protects us from the sun's ultraviolet rays. And if you're looking for encouragement that good science followed by good policy can make a difference, consider that the ozone hole over Antarctica that we were so worried about a few decades ago is slowly closing up.
And to me, that's optimism. I use that as an example that it's possible to solve global environmental problems, but it's a huge challenge because you have to have practically all the countries in the planet agreeing to do something. And that happened already. So it can be done, but this situation where it doesn't matter where you make emissions, it affects the entire planet, appears like something that humanity will never confront, but it can be done. It has been done already once. We know it's a problem that will take quite a few years to get really solved, but at least these industrial chemicals are no longer being manufactured.
It hasn't just stopped, it's being reversed.
That's right, that's right.
You had said not only that you shared, obviously, your findings with the scientific community, but you felt it necessary to share it with the news media and with policymakers. Was that a big step for you, or is that something that came naturally?
No, it was actually a big step because the normal thinking of scientists that long ago was that they should only do science. They should let other groups worry about political issues and so on. But it was clear for Sherry Rowland, my colleague, and myself that there was nobody else that would take care of this problem, or not at least fast enough. So we convinced ourselves that it was our responsibility to really communicate this, not just to other scientists, but to society as well. It's very important to communicate everything that we're talking about here to society. And we recognize the scientific community has done a very poor job in communicating with people in general.
I'm really hopeful about the future because of the attitudes of young people who are seeing the planet in a new way. You guys, we can do this. We can solve these problems, and so the sooner we get to work, the better.